All right, let's do it live on a First Friday edition of the program. Merely Bo, the great Z. Obviously a subdued tone today as brutal news this morning. Shocking news. Didn't anticipate this in any way, shape, or form.
Nope.
But the Cleveland Browns and quarterback Deshaun Watson is done for the season with shoulder surgery. It happened in the game on Sunday. We have a statement from the team. We're awaiting Coach at the podium in a second. We will get to all of that. Z, this morning, as this happens, you just go, my God, what?
I believe Coach might be at the podium now. I'm sorry to interrupt y'all.
All right, let's
Jordan,
go.
we got him?
We have Coach.
All right, here's Coach Stefanski.
Okay, obviously, I know you guys got the Deshaun news. Incredibly disappointed.
Guys are down.
Kid. He battled like crazy to get back out there, and then for what he did with those injuries in the second half is even more remarkable. So disappointed for him, but he'll get back. He'll get healthy. I know that. He'll attack his rehab. So for us, we're excited about our opportunity this week. Got the 6-3 Steelers coming to town, 6-3 Browns down there on the lake. So we're very excited about that, and that's where our focus is. We're focusing on going 1-0 this week, any which way we can, and that's the exciting part about life in the NFL. That Steelers team that's coming in here, as we know, really well coached, good players. They're a tough matchup. Their defense that front is stout. Good players in the back end, including Joey Porter, who is playing more and more and playing at a high level for them. Offense create all sorts of issues with their pre-snap movement. Some new players on that side of the ball as well. I think they'll get their tight end back. So a huge challenge, and special teams. I think our special teams made some plays to help us win last week, and that's going to definitely be the case again this week. So again, excited for the challenge of playing at our place in November. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Quarterback Sunday for you.
Yeah, Dorian's going to start.
The decision to go back in.
Yeah, it just felt like, as you know, every week you're trying to just make the best decisions you can for your team. I want to give him a week where he knows he's a starter. He gets a full week of preparation.
I think he learned from that first start, and how's he maybe grown since then?
Yeah, I would hope all of our players learn from every opportunity, whether you start or don't. Whether you get 10 plays or 60 plays. I think you take learning experiences from every rep you get, practice and game.
What makes you confident that he will be a lot better than he was in that Ravens game?
Yeah, again, young players need exposure. You get better in practice. Sometimes you get better through games.
Kevin, it feels like one thing or another has been thrown at you guys all season. I mean, this being the latest, do you feel like what you've been through already prepares you guys for what's ahead?
I've said to you guys before, I've said to the team, you can't predict anything in this league. You can't predict what's going to happen. When you're sitting there back in August, you don't know what's coming your way. So, we keep a very, very narrow focus in this building. What I know is we got a big one on Sunday.
Kevin, how has Dorian handled kind of this part of the season, after the Ravens game and then going back to that backup position, but just kind of this process with him? How do you see him grow?
Young player, works very hard. Gave him a scout team game ball last week with his work as prepping our defense for the Ravens. So he's gotten better and better, I think, in practice. Works very hard in the meeting room with all those guys and AVP, so he's working very hard.
Do you have any idea during the game, Kevin, that Deshaun was experiencing shoulder problems?
I did not.
Deshaun seemed like in disbelief still over this news, and just from what you've seen from him so far with him being here, how do you think he's handled this? And it obviously seems like he really wanted to continue.
Yeah, I've talked to him a lot, obviously. He's disappointed. He's a competitor. He's a leader of the football team, so it's tough. And we've all been around this game, and we've seen guys have season-ending injuries, and it's no fun for anybody. You feel for those guys. We got guys in the training room right now that are out for the season. We feel for them. But we got a game. We got a game on Sunday. We got a great opportunity in front of us. So we know he's going to go heal up and get better, and in the meantime, he's going to be supporting his teammates.
And a lot of fans remember the DTR game against Baltimore. We all saw him play really well in training camp and in the preseason games. Going back to that time, what did you really like about him, and what gives you confidence that he can keep the offense going forward?
Yeah, I think for us, obviously did a ton of work on him coming out. So he's played a lot of football. He's very athletic, can make plays. has a very good understanding of what we do, of our offense and those type of things. So he's a young player that I think will just continue to get better.
Given the fact that P.J. Walker did win games for you, did you just feel, the coaches, that you couldn't live with his turnovers anymore?
No, I mean, I would tell you with P.J., he's still a guy that we're counting on. He's done a great job in the meeting room, on the practice field. Like you mentioned, has led us in these games. He has to be ready to go at a moment's notice. Just felt like this was the right decision for the team right now.
Hey, Kevin, you didn't want to reveal your left tackle last week, so why?
Because you found out, Jeff. That's nice sweatshirt, by the way.
Hey, all things. But so why did you choose to announce who your starting quarterback's going to be?
Again, because you found out.
It's in having to get backup quarterbacks ready throughout your career. What are the key elements in doing that heading into the week?
Yeah, so much gets made of the quarterback position. I get it, but every one of our players has to do their job. And I think whether it's the left tackle, whether it's the quarterback, you just have to do your job. So as a backup, and particularly in that room as a backup quarterback, you have to understand the offense in and out. You have to be ready to operate from the huddle, operate at the line of scrimmage. But those are all things that you prepare yourself for during the week. So nothing's going to change from that perspective. We expect who's ever out there just to do their job.
An injury like this to a significant player, seemingly, do you feel the need to rally the team and to reinforce some kind of message in a team meeting?
I mean, I talked to the team about it this morning. Not going to get into specifics other than to say we have a job to do Sunday.
With a young player like DTR, he's got some of that gunslinger mentality in him. But as you know, you guys are so big. You lead the league right now still in 19 giveaways. Mm-hmm. So how do you strike that balance with DTR and letting him let it rip and air it out, and also kind of being careful with the ball?
Yeah, I think you can play this game a certain way where you are playing carefree, but you're not being careless. You have to take care of the ball. We know that turnover stat is the most important thing that drives winning and losing. I know Pittsburgh is tied for the league in +10 in turnover margin. They've taken care of the ball. They haven't given it away very much, and they've had a lot of takeaways. So we get that. We understand that that's part of this game, and every game moving forward is taking care of the ball.
Speaking of tackles, is it status quo? We know that Jones isn't practicing today, but also Dunn is practicing.
Right. Yeah, we'll work through all those things this week.
One of the things that Andrew told us earlier that he really admires about you is your ability to emotionally kind of stay level as things get really good or really bad throughout the course of the season. Does that come naturally to you, or is that something you've had to work on?
I don't know. I just know we've talked about as a team, again, with the NFL season, there are ups and downs, there are wins and losses. You lose guys due to injury, people step up. But we as a team don't ride an emotional roller coaster. It does us no good. We focus on the task at hand.
And you addressed this a little bit at the beginning, but just how remarkable was it for Deshaun to go out there in the second half, go 14-14 on a broken shoulder and a high ankle sprain?
Yeah, I told you after the game, it was he was a warrior, and that was without knowing about the shoulder injury. That scramble late in the game on a high ankle was incredible. Now the throws that he was able to make, especially the one on second down there to Amari, I think about difference in the game. So incredible feat of toughness.
He's not practicing today. Are you ruling anybody out for Sunday? Dewan, and Marquise?
Yeah, not ruling anybody out. No.
Did Wyatt say we'll practice the rest of the week?
We'll see. Yeah.
What do you think that Dorian learned from his start that gives you the confidence that he should be the guy that lead the Browns into this game against the Steelers?
Yeah, I think with Dorian in that game, again, that was a tough spot that he was in. So I think this week, having a full week of preparation, knowing that he's going to be the starter, I think is important. Every backup will tell you, and it's the truth, they have to be ready to go after the first play, after the second play. If the starter needs a shoelace, you have to be ready to go. So he's prepared himself all season and just felt like this was the right thing for the team.
I know this is something that the team has gone through before, and them trying to do their job, but how important is the connection and the bonds that these guys have created in getting through something like this and overcoming adversity?
Yeah, I think that's a huge part of it, Cam. And I think, this team, as we've all seen, will fight like crazy, sometimes in pregame, which I don't recommend. But that's what's required. And these guys, they care about each other. They're going to push each other. They're there for each other. We have Deshaun's back through all this as he gets better. And we know he's got our back. So we'll continue to fight. That's just what we do.
Did you, did you give any consideration to, just hauling in some veteran, experienced quarterback, maybe somebody you've had some experience with, and just throwing him out there?
Obviously, that's something that Andrew and the crew will always look at those type of things. But I feel really confident with the guys we got. Yes, Tony.
Without Watson in there, are you more inclined to use a second quarterback based on performance during the game?
Yeah, I'm not even. Yeah, for me, it's just getting our guys ready to play.
Is Deshaun going to be on the sideline Sunday? If he's not, how long is he going to be away from the team?
Yeah, we're still working through all that.
He'd be on the sideline Sunday.
It depends on when that surgery is scheduled.
Kind of about you say teams have to go through adversity and you have to go through the bounces of the NFL, but what would you have said if someone told you in preseason that you would be without Jack Conklin, Nick Chubb, Deshaun Watson for the second half of the season?
Yeah, again, that's why you can't predict it because you don't even try to. But I've said it 1,000 times. Greatest team sport there is. That's what I love about this game. I love the challenge. We love those guys, but the reality is that they're out for the season, and we trust the guys that are going to be in their spots.
And when your defense was able to help you kind of carry through first time Deshaun was out, what do you tell those guys on that side of the ball as far as maybe not trying to do too much?
Yeah,
trying to carry you down the stretch.
Yeah, I think our guys understand what good defense looks like. It really just comes down to doing your job. We have really good leadership on that side of the ball, so I trust that they'll continue to keep that their focus.
Good.
Okay, thank you guys.
You're up.
All right, there's your head coach, Kevin Stefanski. On look, I mean, you have to you have to say those things and do those things when you're a coach. I'd asked you before we went to coach when you heard the news this morning and your reaction to it, and now you have the floor, sir.
I was probably like everybody else who's a fan of the Cleveland Browns. I was gutted. I mean, honestly, I got a text from Gibbe that said like, "What the heck?" Paraphrasing, and I'm like,
"Boy, did you clean that up nicely?"
I'm like, "What?"
Yeah.
And then I called him. He didn't answer, and I was like, "What? You're freaking me out."
Yeah.
And I was like scrolling Twitter. There was nothing.
Nothing. No.
Obviously. And then he directed me to an internal note, and I was just like, gutted. I mean, I've done this for a long time. I know most people listening to this have been fans of this team longer than obviously I've been an employee of this team, but I've been a fan now of the Cleveland Browns for 20 plus years. I've worked here. This is my 11th season and gone through a lot of very difficult things in the sense of like 0-16, 1-15, tough stuff from my first year. My first full season was 2014. We're 7-4. We finished 7-9. John football, all of it.
Right. Oh yeah, there's a lot.
You go through that, then we get Bake, and we have the 2020 season. But yes, we made the playoffs, and yes, I was there in attendance when we beat the Steelers, but nobody else was.
No.
So it didn't feel real in some ways. And then, this year, it just felt like the way certain things had happened, that this was in many ways a team of destiny. And maybe it still will be. Maybe this is just like no Jack Conklin, no Nick Chubb, no problem, all of that. Now we can add no Deshaun Watson, which I guess he was in that one as well. But permanently for this season, it's so hard because it felt like coming out of that Baltimore game. And after that game, I stood outside of our buses because it's a little bit of a time period from there. And obviously it was such a high, but the way that everything's set up in Baltimore is that you can only walk down kind of this narrow thing. So like where I was standing, everybody ultimately had to walk by me at one point or another.
Yeah.
And so I got to talk to, basically everybody after the game, including Deshaun. And I just came away from that feeling like these guys all now know that they can win the Super Bowl and that they 100% believe in that guy, Deshaun Watson, to lead them there and play his role as the quarterback, which, while this is the ultimate team game, that's the singularly important position in all of professional sports.
Correct.
And especially, obviously, in the National Football League. And that, to go 14-14, to do what he did, that's like why he was brought here on the road against the Baltimore Ravens. And it took everybody a defensive touchdown, but you've got a great team. But great teams will, most cases, only go as far as, their quarterback will take them. And while, Rodney McLeod, we're going to hear from him, has some very good words about being in Philadelphia when, Carson Wentz was playing at an MVP level, goes down, Nick Foles steps in. The only difference is that Nick Foles had, played and been a established quarterback in the league and successful.
And had a full season. The 1 year with Chip, he was
27-2.
Yeah, 27-2. So you had track record.
Yes. Yeah. So it was it's different, but it was just like you felt that the euphoria in this town Sunday night, Monday, Tuesday. I mean, I was out and about each of the last 2 days, and just the passion and the joy and the it's finally our time.
Yep.
The excitement for the game on Sunday was as excited as I've heard anybody, and I thought was and still is in many respects in terms of the reality of it, but not what we thought it was going to be. The biggest regular season game that I could probably remember, in the sense that obviously the one to beat the Steelers and get in the playoffs was there, but as Jim said at the end of it, the only thing missing is all of you.
Yeah.
This is a fully different. I thought it was going to be the most probably incredible environment I'd been a part of in my time with the Cleveland Browns, and it still will be. But it obviously hurts, and now you have to rally around and hope that Dorian Thompson-Robinson, a guy who had a great preseason, who was put in an unbelievably impossible situation against the Baltimore Ravens, can now kind of do for the Browns or be for the Browns what Brock Purdy ended up being for the 49ers, where you've got talented playmakers around him, you've got a great defense, and they go out and they play efficient ball, and that's what you need now. So on one sense, you're gutted, you feel like the wind's knocked out of you, but you can't control that. What you can control at this point, right, is getting up and fighting and making something of this season that you're sitting at 6-3, and there's I'd say probably a 50% chance that when you play this game on Sunday that it will be for first place in the AFC North.
Yeah, but look, there are many stages here, and I understand what Kevin has to say. I know where you are.
Grief.
And I understand what Kevin has to say and what AB had to say this morning, and I get it. But when you think about mourning or grief or all of that stuff, the first step is just kind of wallowing in it. And that's there. It's not just. It's not. It's all of it. It's the type of games that you won this year, the games that we typically lose, and we won them. We won 2 games with P.J. Walker, went 2-1 with him, like that, and he wasn't great in those games, and yet you still won them. You things started to happen your way. What happened in Baltimore on Sunday? It was like, wow, this is. You don't win these type of games when you give the other team 14 points and you bury yourself and you miss an extra point. Like you run a successful 4-minute drill and actually hit the game-winning field goal, and it set up this game. And by the way, you win in Baltimore because of him. He went 14-14 in the second half.
Yes.
And last week when we were saying, would you rather have a win or a shootout and Watson plays great, I said you can almost make an argument that I'd rather have a shootout loss and he plays great because we kept waiting to see it. And juxtaposed to how bad he was in the first half, just uncomfortable, and then how heroic now, especially knowing that he played with a broken shoulder and a high ankle sprain, and to go 14-14. So that set up a game this week with Pittsburgh that was all the thing that was going to be all of the things that you said, right? It was going to be this cauldron. It was going to be the most ridiculous atmosphere of all time. But it also felt like it was a passing of the torch. Like it was almost like finally.
Yes.
You've ran out of luck. You don't have the right quarterback. You don't have the right offense. You're still formidable. You're sorcery. You're winning games when you don't out execute the other team. But we're the real team.
Yes.
We are the team of consequence in this division. That was going to happen on Sunday. Many of the things you said and many things Kevin said and our players have said, all things are still possible. But it also would say, and you said this, the ceiling with our defense, the floor with our defense is very, very high. Our ceiling was defined by Deshaun Watson. That ceiling got considerably lower today. and that's a reality. And that sucks, and we could try to shine it and whatever, but the despair that comes from this news today, coming off of the performance he had and heading into the game that to me felt like we have arrived. We got it right this time. We're cruising. You guys are the paper tiger. Watch on Sunday. And now all of that is up in the air. Doesn't mean you still can't beat Pittsburgh, because I don't think they're very good. I think you probably could beat Pittsburgh on Sunday. But the ceiling is very, very different than what it was 24 hours ago.
Right, 24 hours ago, I think it was not even rose-colored or bronze-colored glasses to say this team can win the AFC North and win the Super Bowl.
I think you could say to yourself, I could see this team going to Kansas City
beating anybody,
or Cincinnati coming here and going toe-to-toe with them. Would you win? Who knows? But I would give us a puncher's chance against anybody coming out of that game on Sunday.
Yes, 100%. And so, look, you all know me. You guys have listened to me for many, many years. And for those who have not, who are just joining, welcome.
Where you been?
Like by tomorrow, I will be full steam ahead. Like, this is what it is. But I do think that it is fair, and I think it's okay for people to take some time to deal with this is a significant out-of-the-blue injury, and that you just saw one of the guttiest, and now what we know, broken shoulder, high ankle sprain, incredible, gutty, talented performances to make the throw he made to Amari. Like, all of it doesn't even seem
especially now
feasible
what we know
with
now.
what we know now. And the momentum you had coming out of that. I mean, Deshaun Watson, and we're going to hear from him, he wanted to play through it. He was like, I want to play. And they had to basically say, you cannot play because you could your shoulder could be completely ripped apart and never recover from that. That was there wasn't stability in the structure, and you're a quarterback. You cannot mess with that. I think it's okay to be bummed right now as a Cleveland Browns fan.
It's appropriate.
I think
it's the natural feeling, right?
I mean, we were all bummed after Nick Chubb went down.
Right.
And that was coming off of a loss.
And we saw the other thing is we saw that happen in real time.
Yes.
So you knew what happened. The phrase you used, out of the blue, that's what's crazy about this, because there was rumblings that the ankle was worse than maybe what was originally thought on Sunday. So all yesterday and even into Monday, I'm thinking that ankle might be a little worse than we realize, right? Walking
he was
boot,
going to play.
I know he was, but I had no clue that there would be a shoulder.
Season ending wasn't on the table. There was
nothing on an ankle. I thought, okay, maybe he's limited all week and he practices. He plays Sunday without much practice, but fine, he's
like
gonna play.
Mahomes did, and was like,
and Gibson, but he plays.
Right.
There was nothing to prepare you for the news this morning. Season-ending shoulder surgery. Nothing.
But not only would he not play against Steelers, he will not play again.
Done
in 2023.
There's no way to prepare for that.
No, there's no way to prepare for it, and I admire and I certainly understand from the positions that Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski are in, and that a lot of the guys on this team are in, that you have to just put the blinders on and continue to chug along. But I think it is fair to understand that we went from, try to use our house analogy some more. So we went from coming out of that game, we thought we were living in like a 3-story mansion. That's how high the ceiling had gotten coming out of that game.
That's right. Yeah. All is possible.
And now we still have the right to construct those floors, but we've gone down a few floors in terms of our ceiling. Our floors remain exactly the same. But like you got to be honest about it. Like Deshaun Watson, and there's a reason. And I know that there's so much talk now about the backups and how come you don't have a backup plan and all of that. But the reality of the National Football League is, and as I challenged my good friend Jimmy Bang Bang when he was very upset this morning, I said, name the backup for any team that has a franchise quarterback on a second contract. Just go ahead, name them. You can't. Nobody knows who the backup for Kansas City or Buffalo or the Rams. It was Brett Rippon, and they're like, yeah, that's not okay because they had Stafford. So
bring in Wentz.
Brought some guy in off the street, right? In this case, it was Carson Wentz. But that's unfortunately the reality of it. And Josh Dobbs has been a great story. And look, this team, and even if it was Josh Dobbs,
none of that matters.
The ceiling was coming down. Like he's not.
You know
Watson.
Who's not backing up Deshaun Watson? 1988 Steve Young is not backing him up.
That doesn't exist.
That's over.
It's like
that's over. Like Kosar going to Dallas, that doesn't happen anymore. the league is not built that way. Tom Moore, there's a quote going around from him, the longtime offensive coordinator of the Colts, about Peyton Manning. They were asking him, and he said, look, if 18 goes down, we don't have a practice plan for the alternative to that. It's over.
Right.
It's done.
Right.
There's no other thing here. Like, you get lucky and you fall into Purdy. Those type of things happen. But when you have somebody like this is the plan.
That is the plan. And now, obviously, we have to deviate from that plan. And in much the same way that we saw a fifth-round pick in Jerome Ford run for a career-high 107 yards and fill in for Nick Chubb, we're going to now need a fifth-round pick in Dorian Thompson-Robinson to fill in. And I think that we have a team that is capable of winning with average quarterback play. I think we've done it with below-average quarterback play, quite frankly. So we need him to do that. And then once you get rolling, you never know. Like, it's okay, I think, for everybody to hit this kind of pause, this reset, this like feeling of sadness. But now we do have a game to play. It still better be a great environment. And the Browns still have a chance to do something very, very significant on Sunday against the Steelers. And after that, will it be harder than it was before?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Significantly harder. Deshaun Watson is not going to bail you out with perfect second halves. That doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
But now you got to go out with, your defense, which is elite. You're able to run the football. You got to go and do it. But it's okay, I think, to be upset and disheartened because you're right. Nobody, unless it's, I guess the people, Deshaun said he got the information last night. So those who are privy, those on that level that were privy to that information last night were the only ones that did not go to sleep last night thinking that there was no way in the world Deshaun Watson was done for the season.
I mean, you can take it a step further. We all thought he was playing Sunday because he thought he'd get through the ankle. He's going to play. He said it. I'm going to play.
Yes.
That's it. So you weren't even considering. That's what I'm saying. Like, if it was ankle, you'd be like, wow, I didn't see that, but I remember the injury. I saw it. You kind of were prepared that potentially that could be worse. But to
you
shoulder,
play through it, and then when the tape comes off, it's
right.
Yeah,
all of that type of
sure.
stuff. You and I, players and coaches, front office, have to say what they have to say. You and I are the conduit between that and the fans. That's the job. And you've been one of the best at that for a long time since you've been part of the organization. So, yes, we can – they have to put on the right face for this thing, and the players have to and the coaches. But this is a time of – it's a gut punch, man. It's numb. It's devastating. It's all those things, and it does change the trajectory of this season. There will come a time, and we're going to get into it coming up next, in terms of what this plan can be for Dorian Thompson-Robinson. You heard Coach Brown Coach Stefanski off the top of our show talk about the notion of right away it's DTR. So what does that mean? What does that look like? How is he ready? We will get into that. It's obviously a very, very brutal day here, but we'll do our best to move forward with this thing, and this team will as well. We're off and running. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Be sure to check out the Browns' social media channels daily to play the Browns digital scratch-off game for your chance to win club seats and other great prizes presented by the Ohio Lottery, the official lottery of your Cleveland Browns. Time for the Hot Topics of the Day, presented by Vivid Seats, official fan experience partner of your Cleveland Browns. As you no doubt know by now, Deshaun Watson lost for the season with shoulder surgery. He will have shoulder to repair a broken bone in his right shoulder. He will be placed on IR. So just from a going forward standpoint, you heard Kevin off the top of our program talking about it will be Dorian Thompson-Robinson at quarterback this week, and I would assume going forward for the Browns, at least for this week, though, for sure.
Yeah, I think that, it's a decision where you know what P.J. Walker is, and P.J. certainly gave everything to this team, and he'll be the backup for DTR going forward. But, 49% completions, 1 touchdown, 5 interceptions, 51 rating, that's not going to do it. Now, DTR's debut, we know, was bad against the Baltimore Ravens. But, folks, it's an unfathomably difficult situation that he was placed in with a game plan that was in no way, shape, or form designed for him to operate it. This will be different. He will have the full week of preparation. It's obviously a very difficult assignment against a very good defense, but I think you need the upside that DTR provides. And I know that many of you were all coming out of the preseason thinking DTR should be the backup, and ultimately he was. And at the time, there was certainly not a lot of thought about that move. So DTR, talented kid, played a ton of football at UCLA, holds every record at that school. He's a good athlete. He will be able to use his legs and make plays with them, and you just need him to be able to deliver the football accurately. I think we're going to play, not a beautiful style of football, try to muddy these games up, play defense, run the ball. I think punts will be viewed as certainly very viable options to end a lot of drives. And then you hope that you can catch a little lightning in the bottle with DTR where he can get hot, his confidence can grow, and you can do things like the 49ers were able to do with an unbelievable supporting cast around a quarterback that people didn't think was going to be able to perform the way he has in Brock Purdy. And so that's what you're hoping to get out of it. I think with P.J. Walker, you very much know what P.J. Walker is, and we are very lucky for the gutty, gritty performances that he played for us, but he turns the ball over too much. DTR, you hope
that
that
the arm either that is needed,
Yeah. You hope that, and he made unbelievable plays. The 30-yarder to Elijah Moore on the last drive against Indianapolis, phenomenal. We don't win that game without it. You hope that DTR, his ceiling certainly is higher at this point, and you hope that he's a guy that can, with playing in the game, get better. And you are a better football team, even with the news today, than the Pittsburgh Steelers. You got to go prove it. But if you go out there and play clean and at least mistake-free, you'll beat them. You will. Our defense is better.
Here's the reality.
I think our offense is still better.
There's a couple of things that are different about the last time around with Deshaun and the injury. The most notable one being now it is the length of the injury. You know that he's out for the rest of the year. So you've played 9 games. You have 8 remaining. So that is known, and now you can take more of a long view of it. Whereas before it was we just got to try to put ourselves in the best position to win this week, and hopefully Deshaun's back next week. Well, now he's not coming back, so now you have to try to go for something that has a higher ceiling to provide for more opportunity to win week in and week out as opposed to on an individual week, if that all makes sense. You're 6-3. This is what remains. Pittsburgh here, at Denver, at the Rams, Jacksonville here, Bears here, at Texans, Jets, Bengals. 8 games. Those are the 8. You go 4-4, you're in the postseason. 10-7 is going to do it. I'd bet anything. So that's very doable. You've played, really, in many ways, the toughest part of your schedule is now behind you.
Yep.
This is a far more manageable slate. It was a slate that, quite frankly, is ranked 24th in the league in terms of easiest remaining schedules. It's a slate that, quite frankly, when you had Deshaun Watson, you said, my God, why can't you go 6-2 or 7-1 in that stretch?
We thought if you could get to week 10 at 6-4, you were like golden.
Yep.
And if you could get there at 5-5, you still had a chance.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to at worst be 6-4, the chance to be 7-3.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. It's right there. And I do wonder, they're not going to obviously say it. You want DTR and you hope that you can catch that lightning in a bottle and get that upside. But I do wonder if there are veterans out there who are probably a little bit past their prime, but they feel like could manage a football game for the Cleveland Browns that they will give a look to.
So that would be Foles, like that camp, right?
Foles, Flacco,
Matt
Ryan, Phillip Rivers.
Matt Ryan's in a booth. Phillip Rivers is coaching a game on Friday. High school playoff game on Friday. I've seen some Cam Newton. I've seen
Tom Brady.
Yeah. The amount of Tom Brady superimposed. The one thing I would tell you on like the Tom Brady, Matt Ryan, Phillip Rivers, those level of guys, I mean, obviously one's the greatest of all time in the conversation. The other two are kind of, all-pro MVP type guys, Pro Bowl type cats. I think you have to ask yourself the question, would they want to come out of their lifestyle in November to play in the AFC North in this meat grinder of a division in the elements?
There'll only be one division game left.
I understand, but it's all those guys have all their cash. The life is good. The opportunity is good. By the way, without your top 3 tackles for the time being, that isn't like if Chubb were here and Conklin were here. I just don't want to get people's hopes up to think that like Matt Ryan's going to parachute out of the booth and come quarterback.
No, it's unlikely. It's likely.
Like Foles seems like that would be very real to me. That would be something that seems realistic to me.
It feels likely to me that that DTR and PJ Walker are likely going to be your 2 quarterbacks or primary quarterbacks the rest of the season. Now, if there is a different option or path, that would be something that would be good, but it would have to be somebody that has some familiarity with this style of offense first and foremost. Ryan Wood. I mean, it was rough in Indy last year with him. I mean, he got benched halfway through the season.
For sure. I mean, it's
tough. There's a reason,
these guys aren't playing,
and that the Jets didn't do it. And I'm sure there are, to your point, contract demands that would be what they are. For the Browns, what you need now is to, and it's a not a high ceiling situation, right? And I don't even think, for example, like let's say a guy like Ryan Tannehill or even Jacoby said, "You've got to release me, like give me a chance to go play somewhere else."
Yeah.
They still have to go, I believe, at this point in the season. Even veterans go through waivers, right?
Those cats would both have to. The guys we were talking about weren't because they're on the streets. Free agents,
but I'm talking about
guys on teams have to go clear waivers,
even if they're veterans.
And we're way down. We're 6-3.
Nobody would let them get to
no
us.
one.
So like, I've just seen a lot of talk about that.
Even like Cincinnati would jump in front or something to keep them from here.
Yes, right.
Yeah,
right.
So that's to me is not realistic either. I think
they need to get that thing like in the NBA where vets can get bought out and then can go sign with whoever they want.
Would make it more fun.
Like Ryan Tannehill should be able to play for somebody if there's somebody that would want him to play for them.
Yeah.
But again, all of the stuff we're talking about and being real outside of Tom Brady, which is not going to happen.
No.
And I'd be, by the way, if I were to be wrong about that, fine.
Couldn't be more thrilled.
Sign me up. But these are all known things that don't necessarily move the needle tremendously one way or the other. DTR right now is unknown, and in unknown, which is why the NFL values draft picks so highly before they're known, there is at least hope that he can get some confidence and that he can be, like he was in college, 69% passer, able to extend drives with his legs, all of that. It's got a good arm. It's obviously not an ideal situation, and any team that loses their quarterback, as you talked about earlier, there isn't a contingency plan that really is for the season. There's a contingency plan that's like, can we get through a couple of games in a very specific formula? That's one thing. But can we get through the whole season? That's something altogether differently. Right. Like they didn't bring back Flacco, which is surprising because I thought he could at least throw the ball, as we saw in week 2 last year. It's just there's so much good about this team, but man, you got to say it's pretty unreal that against the Bengals we lose Jack Conklin for the year, against Steelers we lose Nick Chubb for the year, now against the Ravens we lose Deshaun Watson for the year.
Yeah.
It's
hard to wrap your head around. I mean,
Yeah. Yes,
it's just such a staggering amount of bad luck and misfortune from a personnel standpoint. No one in the league is dealing with this. It's one thing you lose Rodgers, that's a big blow. You lose in week 1, but like we got to look at Nick's right there on the wall every day. We look at him, and you think like how it would feel differently if Nick were still here. And Jerome Ford's very good, but like it's just different.
Has anybody lost 3? And quarterback obviously is the biggest. So you'd say yes, the Jets have lost their quarterback. But I'm talking. So your quarterback's a 3-time Pro Bowler. Your running backs made 4 straight Pro Bowlers, and your right tackle's a 2-time first-team All-Pro.
The Vikings, like if Jefferson was done for the year,
but he's not.
But if it was Cousins, Jefferson, and but
somebody
do
else
three,
super solid.
Yeah, like
but Jefferson is coming back. Like if Cup came back,
three. I mean, this is
not coming back.
No, there's nothing quite like this that I could certainly think of.
No,
it's incredible.
Because the only teams that have lost quarterbacks are the Jets and Vikings.
Yeah.
Jefferson's going to miss 5 games.
Yeah,
but he's trending to come back this week.
Right. Yeah, it's like Lane Johnson, Hurts, and A.J. Brown.
Right.
Good luck.
Right.
Good luck with all that.
Yeah.
Wonder how that Philly push thing's going to work now. Is that as successful now with that?
That's
the reality of it.
At least DeAndre Swift would get 1-yard touchdowns.
He'd get some fantasy points at that point.
Get a 1-yard touchdown. He'd be back on the menu.
Got to try and laugh amongst this a little bit. Deshaun Watson available. I didn't think he would be. I was good on him for doing it. It's an incredibly candid media session. We'll have it for you coming up next. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Browns fans get into Cleveland Browns Stadium quicker on game day with Express Access presented by Verizon. Enroll for free today to enter through exclusive lanes at each gate. Go to the Tickets tab in the mobile app to learn more. And now here is at the podium.
Deshaun, when did you realize
You're done.
there was something really wrong with your shoulder?
It's really hard to say. I guess, I mean, I felt something pretty much throughout, towards the end of the first quarter. Then at halftime, I kind of recognized something was wrong, but, you know, during the midst of the game, you know, I was just pushing through whatever I was feeling. So, and then, you know, after the game and Monday and Tuesday, we got, you know, testing done, and that's when I found out from the doctors that it was something worse than what we thought it was.
Deshaun, can you go through your emotions now that this news is settling in, you're going to be out for this season and not be able to finish it with the team?
It's very tough. Heard about it, but you know, I'm gonna make sure, you know, I keep my head above water and make sure I stay in touch with all the guys and support them as much as I possibly can, and you know, attack this rehab process after surgery, and make sure that I'm doing whatever I can to be beneficial for the team, while not, you know, actually being on the field with them, and also, you know, prepping for, you know, the next year.
Do you know exactly what hit it was?
I have no idea.
Do you know?
I'm not even sure. You know, we've been trying to figure that out too the last couple of days, you know, and it could have been any one of those hits, you know, at the time. Like I said, I was, you know, of course feeling something, but, you know, in the midst of a game and with everything going on, you know, I was just trying to lock in on the next play to try to get the victory.
Do you know when you have surgery?
I think it's sometime next week, if I'm not mistaken.
Are you completely 100% positive that this has nothing to do whatsoever with your previous shoulder injury?
I have no idea. I'm not sure. I found out all this information yesterday, so yeah, it's still trying to process everything that's going on. So, you know, just like everyone else coming in Monday, I thought, you know, just banged up a little bit and we get ready for Pittsburgh, but, you know, yesterday was a different story.
Do you think you would have been able to play with your knee ankle injury?
Oh, for sure, yeah. I would have. That was my mindset. Like I said, just coming in, look at the shoulder be fine, dealing with whatever we're dealing with, and then, you know, make sure we focus on the ankle enough so I can go out there and perform. But, you know, it took a different turn.
Deshaun, we're early in the process, but what have they told you about the rehab and recovery, what you're facing over the next couple of months?
Yeah, it's going to be a couple months, and you know, biggest thing is mobility and just the range of motion, and then, you know, the strength and stuff will work out. But you know, I'm going to be working with some great doctors and great staff that's dealt with this process before, with a lot of professional baseball guys, and you know, make sure that, you know, I come back, you know, even better than before.
Are you aware of any quarterbacks who have gone through this injury and come back?
Not right now. Not this particular injury. I have no idea. Maybe there's someone, but I'm not sure.
Deshaun, how frustrating is it? It seems like every time you seem to be turning the corner, the Tennessee game, the Baltimore game, you sort of kind of run into one of these roadblocks. How frustrating is that fact?
You know, it's very frustrating, but hey, it's part of life, and you know, what I've been able to deal with, you know, my 28 years of my life, you know, it's just another stone that's in the way, and you know, I have faith in myself and my Lord that, you know, I'm gonna overcome it. So, you know, I'm gonna be straight, and I'm gonna get through it for sure.
Deshaun, the way you're talking, I mean, it sounds like you're surprised that this injury is the extent that it is. Were you in disbelief when they told you, and even now, I guess?
Yeah, I'm still in disbelief. I'm still, like I said, just trying to process all the information that I've been getting since last night. it's tough. I've felt like we were turning a corner to really make a run, and I still believe we still will. With the guys in this locker room. I just wanted to be physically a part of it, on the field with those guys, and 6 weeks I was down and try to come back, and 2 weeks later I'm back at it again. So yeah, it's tough to try to wrap everything around my head right now.
Deshaun, Andrew said that you tried really hard, after being diagnosed with the shoulder, that you tried hard to kind of, wanting to play through the rest of the season. How hard did you push for that, and how disappointing was it when you found out you couldn't go?
I pushed very hard for it, to the point where it was, all the experts and doctors was the ones that told me that it was no chance. So I pushed as far as I possibly could to, get back out there and just try to play and try to push it towards after the season. But I think the best situation for, I guess, longevity in my career is to be able to get immediate surgery, and that's what all the experts said. So I gotta follow their footsteps and go from there.
Deshaun, how important is it going to be for you after you get through the rehab process to be back here with your teammates and around the team as you kind of get yourself through it as well?
Yeah, it's going to be very important to get back around here and be around the guys. But, I've already had a lot of guys tell me, wherever I'm rehabbing and training at, they're going to come out there and spend some time with me, so which is pretty dope. So, we're going to have that bond. The connection is going to always be there. My phone is going to always be on loud for those guys, and they know they can call me or, pull up on me anytime, they get free.
Team 6-3. Who do you think is best suited to take your place?
You said do what?
The team is 6-3 and right in it. Who do you think is the best candidate to replace you now?
Whoever's the next man up. I mean, anybody that's going to be able to, step in and perform. So, Kevin and those guys going to make sure we're ready to go, and they're going to be ready to perform and take this team as far as we need to go.
I don't know the answer, Deshaun, but how confident are you that you'll be able to come back and be the player you think you should be?
Well, I'm very confident. I'm very confident. I'm very confident in the doctors that it's going to be doing the surgery and the rehab, and I'm very confident in my rehab and my mindset and my determination to get back, strong.
Do you have any idea when you're going to be able to throw a football again?
It depends on everything. Maybe hopefully in 2 months, 3 months.
So it's more of the. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Just the pain that you're feeling. Is it more frustration, like internally, because you're not allowed to play, or are you physically feeling like, man, if I had to throw a football right now, I probably could?
I mean, it's both. I mean, it's very painful. The whole second half is painful to throw a football. It's a bone that's fractured in my shoulder. So no type of medicine or anything is going to stop the pain from that. But it's just frustrating all around. Just not being able to play and just the injuries. But I can't control certain injuries, and from what the experts told me, that certain injury and then the high ankle sprain is things that happens with everybody in the game. So
we'll take last one here.
What do you think that you showed people Sunday against the Ravens, coming out going 14 for 14 on a broken shoulder, high ankle sprain, pulling out the biggest game of the season in a place where you guys never win?
I just want to win, and that's all I was focused on, just winning. I didn't care how we did it, whatever we need to do to turn that game around and to win, and leave everything out there on the field, and that's what I was focused on.
Are you comforted at all in the knowledge that you kind of went out like that?
30.
In such a joyous moment for your teammates and for fans.
I mean, yeah, it was good. It was cool, but the ultimate goal is that Super Bowl. So I won't have that opportunity, but my teammates got the opportunity, and I pray and know that they do whatever they can to get that ultimate goal. And I'm gonna be right there, supporting them and boosting them up, hyping them up, and so yeah, the win was awesome, but the ultimate goal was to try to go all the way.
You're up.
All right, there's your quarterback, Deshaun Watson, at the podium earlier today. We'll get the reaction of Joe Thomas coming up next. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Ballybet, sports betting partner, your Cleveland Browns, now live in Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Over the last 90 years, family-owned and operated Rumpke Waste Recycling, grown to become one of the largest waste and recycling companies in the United States. Proud to be the recycler of choice for the city of Cleveland. Visit Rumpke.com to learn more. Now we head on the Twisted Tea Hotline, brought to you by Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea. The Hoff joins us. Oh, boy, this is not the first Friday program we thought we'd be doing, Joe. This thing came out of nowhere this morning, devastating to Browns Nation. Where were you when you heard, and what was your initial reaction? Do you have any clue that this was how this was going to go today?
No clue. Definite thief of joy was the news from today. Actually, Z and I were texting this morning. I was sitting in a tree stand in Wisconsin and watching the lovely deer species roll by my stand, and Z hit me with this news that I was not prepared for. I almost fell out of my stand. And at first, when he said Watson's out for the year, I thought it was the ankle. I thought maybe he broke something in his ankle because I had no idea that he had a shoulder injury. I mean, how could you imagine? The guy was perfect in the second half playing through a shoulder injury.
Yeah. Yeah, perfect he was. Perfect he was. And right, out of nowhere, certainly very surprising that this was the thing. As I said, nobody went to bed last night other than maybe the handful of people who knew yesterday who got the news thinking this was even possible, that he wasn't not only not going to play against the Steelers, but that he would not play again this season for the Cleveland Browns. It is a stunning thing, and I know you're here to bring us pure joy. So, how do we?
Before we do that,
Yeah, okay,
have you ever been a part of anything like this at any level, Joe? I mean, high school, college, anything where it's different at quarterback, right? I mean, we all love Nick Chubb, but that's different than when you're talking about your franchise quarterback. Have you ever been a part of anything like this?
Boy, I mean, I've lost quarterbacks before, but I don't think anybody that's meant so much to the potential outcome of a fantastic season. I think obviously the momentum that we built in the last few games, but especially the comeback against Baltimore, winning that game. They're the hottest team in the NFL going into the game. And, I mean, it's not over. So I don't want to say, like, in my mind it's over, but obviously this is a huge setback. And it's devastating. Z and I were talking about there's really no other way to put it because you saw Deshaun Watson back. You saw the version that we'd all hoped he would be when we signed him, right? That was the Deshaun that we saw in Houston. And it was pretty easy to say Deshaun Watson, Houston version right now. Great running game, number one defense in the NFL. That's a formula for a lot of success. Without him, it's tough. I mean, I remember Brady Quinn was our starter in maybe 2008. We weren't having a great season, but he had a Liz Frank injury on a scramble, just a very innocuous scramble down the sideline against the Chiefs. And he kind of came up just hobbling a little bit, but he didn't even get hit. And I think the comparison maybe is that, okay, it's your quarterback, he's out for the year in a situation where you didn't even realize he got hurt. And so it's kind of stunning and shocking, and you don't really even know how to handle the news at first. But obviously this is a much different situation because of the stakes and because of the direction this team was headed.
Yeah, and so now you have to shift gears. And we heard today that Dorian Thompson-Robinson will start, and obviously we know it's a very different thing than finding out you're starting an hour and a half before kickoff as opposed to finding out that you're starting and getting to have a game plan tailored to you and the things that you're comfortable with all week long. And so Dorian Thompson-Robinson, and I think in many ways, is starting to give you the best chance to win this game, but also with the hope that with that great defense, with that great running game, that we can do enough to still make the playoffs, and so that he would have at that point 8 games of experience and give you a puncher's chance in the postseason if the Browns can get there. What did you think of the decision to go with DTR, and what would you expect this offense to look like with him at quarterback?
I like the decision. His first start, he really didn't get a fair chance. And if you think back to how he played in the preseason, he was pretty electric. He was awesome. I mean, he's got a lot of experience playing in college. The times that we saw him in the preseason, he was great. He had ice water in his veins in that Hall of Fame game, driving down the field, game-winning touchdown. He's very accurate, very smart, good athlete. Like, you can do a lot of things with that. Obviously, I think the moment seemed a little bit too big for him the first start that he had. So it was good to maybe get him a chance to step away, reflect, review, have an opportunity to kind of bring his emotions in check, go back to the routine of a week in the NFL, and then give him another shot like this. I think he's got a much better chance for great success, especially knowing that it is going to be his job the rest of the way, and that he's had a chance to kind of work through some of those bumps and bruises and hopefully learned a lot from it. So I think the offense is probably going to look similar to what we saw with Deshaun because their skill sets are similar. However, I do think that when Kevin Stefanski and I think Paul DePodesta and the analytics side will probably have a big say in, okay, like now as you're breaking down the probabilities of success, right? Every play in your playbook is not going to have the same probability of success with DTR. So what you're going to try to do is manufacture some plays that'll give you some home run ability to take advantage of very, very specific minutia that you're going to be dealing with from the defense in that game plan that week, so that you can find a way to manufacture 3 to 5 big plays that don't rely on your quarterback doing something that's superhuman or that maybe only that quarterback in a Deshaun Watson can do. So specifically, you're talking about, all right, how do we dial up some shot plays, probably out of play action, make them look a little bit like some of the stuff that we've done before, make it maybe one-man routes. But also I think this is where Kevin Stefanski's genius can kind of play in, is you've got personnel groupings that you can get predictability from the defense, and then you can find little matchups where, okay, it's almost like if you're looking at, maybe this is too much in the weeds, but like you're looking at a business or a stock and you're seeing like how it's moving, and all of a sudden there's like little arbitrages in between, like inefficiencies, and you're like, okay, boom, we can take advantage of that. All right, Amari Cooper, if we line him up in the backfield out of this personnel grouping and then we motion him out, he's going to have a linebacker on him. We're only going to get one shot at it, but now we can run a wheel route, or we can run some different digs in the middle of the field, or we can get some home run shots in that regard where it's easy. We can tell DTR it's throw it to Amari or take off and run. And so kind of keeping it simple but giving him an opportunity to hit some of those home run shots, I think is going to be a little bit more part of the game plan now, and then hoping that he can be really efficient and have a high completion percentage on a lot of the short passes, because I think really that's kind of his bread and butter going forward.
Well, that's the thing with basically our second half game plan against Baltimore,
well, that's
where the depth of target was half or more than half than what it was in the first half, and also that RPO game, Hoff, because he lived in that at UCLA. He's a 70% passer. He rushed for 650 yards, 12 touchdowns last year at UCLA. Like, isn't this go ahead to your point, Z, but as Joe was talking, I'm thinking to myself, that's second half Baltimore.
Well, that's what I was going to say, is not only in the second half of that game did we kind of live exclusively in the shotgun, which probably is more comfortable for DTR, but we got our shotgun running game going. We averaged over 6 yards a carry, which was something that you and I had talked about, getting that yesterday. We talked about getting that shotgun game going. Do you think we're going to be with DTR?
I would think
much more of a shotgun team, and that really is what kind of got us going there in that second half, honestly. And I think for young players at times, I think it's tougher for them when they have to turn their back to the defense as opposed to being the shotgun, being able to see it and having clear, quick, defined reads for them. You got to almost like Brock Purdy's been great, but what Kyle did was make everything such a one-read situation for him until he got to the point where he could kind of go through his progressions, and I feel like that's kind of what we have to do, and that's probably easier for him in that gun.
Yeah, you're exactly right. It's going to be shotgun runs, and it's going to be a lot more of the RPO stuff. Obviously, you didn't want to expose Deshaun to a ton of hits with the RPO stuff, because a lot of times when you got a quarterback who's maybe not a giant human being, but still is really savvy and fleet-footed running the football, teams on defense will say, hey, force him to pull it. We want him to run around because we're going to get our shots on him, and in the long run, we're going to win that battle. For DTR, I think to keep his completion percentage high, which I think that's the key, like I said, shots on the field, high completion percentage, easy reads, that's RPO stuff, and that's what he's comfortable with. And knowing that we've really increased our gun runs success rate recently, I think that can really kind of lean into the things that he does well. And thinking specifically about RPOs, like he's looking at one guy. Okay, I'm either looking at the linebacker or I'm looking at the defensive end, and I know pull it, run it, or hand it off, or I can throw it to an easy pass in the middle of the field and then let my playmakers go. And so I think knowing that we've got Elijah Moore, we got Amari Cooper, we got David Njoku, who's got guys that you can get them short passes and then they can make stuff happen after the play, after they catch it, I think that can be a huge advantage for them.
And the way that, and considering for this weekend, I mean, Pittsburgh is very muted offensively. The way they beat us last time was game-wrecking play by T.J. Watt. And so as long as you can prevent those type of, which is easier said than done, but as long as you do that, I mean, our team's better than their team, Hoff. So it's kind of just stay within the navigational beacons if you're a boater out there. That's kind of the objective for DTR this week, and then maybe it can build from that point going forward, right?
Shout out to Jimmy Buffett, R.I.P. Great reference there. Brings me back to drinking margaritas on the beach in Jamaica. But I think you're exactly right. Like this team, and we saw it, right? Deshaun did not really play all that well most of the season, right? He played amazing last week. We loved it. But you were winning plenty of games because of your defense and your run game. And so I think the first priority is, all right, who are the teams that we're just better than? And we're just better than the Steelers. Obviously, it didn't show in the first game, but if you don't turn the football over, you win that game easily. And so I think the priority in the game plan and with DTR is just saying, hey, it's a one read on this play. If it's not there, throw it away or take off. Like, live to play another play. We don't need any superhuman efforts because if we just do the basic, the ordinary, like everybody else on this team is good enough where we're going to get the win here. Where you're going to need the growth and you're going to need to expand and count on your quarterback a little bit more is potentially down the line when you're playing a little bit more talented teams with more high-flying offense where you're going to have to keep up with them a little bit more. And then maybe it shifts, but you hope that a guy like DTR, who you saw him do it in the preseason, as he grows and becomes more comfortable in the starting role and hopefully gets some wins under his belt. Like, imagine what a win against the Steelers in the environment that we're going to have on Sunday would do for his confidence. And it would do for the confidence of the team around him, right? So
yes,
as big as this game was with Deshaun, it might even be bigger now that the DTR is there because we're talking about the psyche and the confidence of a young man who now is being asked to shepherd this team potentially through a playoff run. So you thought the game was big before today? Whew, just got a little bit bigger.
It did, and that's what we were talking about. Like, okay, and I guess I'm violating my own 24-hour rule because now I'm you've done it, Hoff.
Yes.
You've gotten me back. Thank
Do
you.
it.
Is it
I love it.
you
Bring it back.
for this team to still have a chance to accomplish something? You have got to get DTR playing well, and you got to get his confidence up, and you got to get everybody else's confidence because the thing that was so, I call it galvanizing, was that coming out of that Baltimore game, there was full belief in this football team and full belief in Deshaun Watson. And now all of a sudden, that's gone. And so you have got to get with DTR, to your point, positivity that can get that kind of confidence back in their quarterback to be able to make plays to help this team win. And really, the confidence and the reason that I think DTR is going is, number one, you don't know what his ceiling truly can be, but that you're hoping he can be a better steward of the ball. And I know he had 3 picks in the game against Baltimore. I honestly throw that out. That was an impossible situation that he was put into. So I am hoping that obviously in a more normal style situation, is he going to be perfect? No, he's a rookie. He's making his second career start. But I do think that you have a very important opportunity here to get some confidence with him, for him, and in him by going out and beating the Steelers in what is still a massive game for the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, you still got everything in front of you. I know this changes our perspective, but looking down the stretch, like the games that we were able to win without great quarterback play leading up to this point should build a lot of confidence knowing that if we just get average play from the quarterback, doesn't turn the ball over, like we're going to win a lot of games and we're going to be sitting really, really good at the end of the season. Now, beating the better teams, that's when you're going to need a little bit more from them. But I think that's why this is so important right now to build that confidence, because I think everybody in that building and everybody that's seen him practice, saw him in the preseason, they feel like he's got what it takes to make that growth. And it's just a matter of calming down, building confidence in himself, and then letting everybody in that locker room see that in him and believing in him. Because to your point, Z, that was perfect. I loved everything you said about it. You told me after the game, like the scene in the locker room, the scene on the bus was like everybody in the team believed that Deshaun was back and this was the guy that could lead us all the way. And obviously it's a setback. It's mentally as hard as it is going to be physically going out there, but getting that win, building that confidence can build that belief in that locker room in DTR that this could be magical even though we lost our starter, because this guy's got that it factor.
One of the many things you have that we don't is the fact that you played, and so you know what it's like in that room today as that news starts to spread. Take us through kind of what that's like as a player, and then when you hear that notion, and we all know NFL, like the injuries happen, next man up, all of those things, this feels, from the outside looking in, that seems impossible. From a player perspective, how do you get to that spot?
I had this conversation with Z as I was texting from my tree stand this morning and trying to keep him from driving off the road. I said, Z, I know as a fan, I feel the same way myself, and this is why I love the game so much. And I probably love it now more than even when I played, is because as fans, we're allowed to be on that emotional roller coaster within the game, within the season, within the week. Like, we just get so emotionally attached and invested in every little thing that happens. And we are constantly playing the schedule game, which is everybody's favorite game when the schedule comes out. It's like, all right, we can beat this game. This will be tough. You know, we might lose that one. Like, that's what everybody's doing right now, looking down the stretch. But as players, you're just programmed differently. It's like, I got a job to do no matter what happens. I need to focus on me, because the way I get the most out of myself is focusing on my job. And obviously it's not like you're going to just ignore the fact that Deshaun got hurt and he's gone for the season. I mean, we're humans too, but as players, as NFL players, you're conditioned to deal with the injuries and the punches and the roller coaster of a season with a very big steadiness that fans are not prepared for. And it's interesting, I kind of reflect back on first-time ownership, you know, when the Haslam's first showed up, and people throughout the NFL that buy teams that are huge sports fans, but they've never been in the building being able to make those decisions. Because as fans, it's like when somebody has a bad game, it's like, get rid of them. We need somebody else. You know, and when they have a good game, it's like, he's the greatest thing ever. But once you're in the building and you are involved in either playing or making those decisions, you realize that the best approach long-term is that steady, even hand. And that's what you have to have, and you kind of have to focus on your controllables. Otherwise, it is tough, because you do get punched. Even in a great season, you have a lot of bad things that happen, and you got to be able to handle it and still go out and do your job.
Huff, any luck this morning in that tree stand?
Well, it was funny. So me and Z did our X's and Joe's show, and I actually had a buck that was standing and ended up laying down right underneath me. He wasn't a shooter, but still, I don't like to leave my stand when he's underneath me, but my alarm is going off that I have to leave to go do the show. And I'm going, can you please get up and move? I really don't want to spook you. And the look on that little buck's face when I got up and started walking down my tree was like, what the hell is coming out of the sky right now?
He had no idea.
It was kind of probably the same feeling that we had this morning of shock and awe when the news about Deshaun came down. Like, that thing was shocked and awed at this giant human being climbing out of a tree 30 feet above him in the middle of the day.
He had no idea how close to the sun he flew, did he? That could have ended a lot different for that guy.
I would say
that's
the best outcome. That's the best outcome.
Boy, that was close. That was close. If you're that little buck in Wisconsin today, thanks for taking the time today, brother.
Yes, Hoff.
My pleasure, guys. Thanks for having me on.
All right, that's the Hoff joining us on the Twisted Tea Hotline, brought to you by Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea, the official sponsor of your Cleveland Browns. Keep it twisted, Cleveland. Hey, Browns fans, you could enter for a chance to win season tickets for the 2024 season from Sugardale and your local Meijer. Head to browns.com/contest to enter now, and don't forget to grab Sugardale bacon at your next trip to Meijer. Rodney McLeod coming up next. Jerome Ford as well. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Team full of injury lawyers dedicated to every client every day. Call 1-800-ELK-OHIO. Elk & Elk's proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. Rodney McLeod Jr. was at his podium earlier today, to discuss the news, and his experience is very similar in Philadelphia. Let's have a listen.
You guys are down.
Of course, it's a shock. That'll be a lie if you said, you weren't shocked. We understand what type of leader, what type of player that we've lost. You saw that, you witnessed that on Sunday. Somebody who, started out the game with a pick six, but rallied, hard from start to finish and put together an incredible second half. And he shows he's a warrior, for what he had to endure, ankle to shoulder, and with the news today. So it's a shock, but, what today is a work day. And what doesn't change is a mission at hand, and that's to go 1-0. We understand who's coming in town, and they don't care, who's hurt on our side. So we're going to bring our best, and I'm sure we're going to get their best.
Rodney, this defense, obviously, you've been through a lot this season already, and you always seem to find a way to bounce back. You don't seem to let things bother you externally. Like, how equipped do you think that your side of the ball is to kind of contend with something like this so big on offense?
Yeah, I think as a defense, we've definitely been tested this year, but I think as a team, we've been battle tested. Think about, we lost the first time we played, and it was Nick Chubb, and people outside were like, what's the run game going to look like? And there you go, guys like Jerome, Kareem Hunt, Pierre, just running back by committee steps up, and they're playing big. And that's the expectation that we have. It's next man up mentality. The standard stays the same regardless of, who lines up on that field. And so that is the message. And I think we're prepared for this moment as a team and as a defense.
So how do you get over that shock? The initial shock. How do you guys get past that?
I think you just understand what's important, and you can't necessarily dwell or change what's happened. All we can do is focus on the outcome, right? And how we affect the outcome is we show up each and every day ready to work. And so Wednesday is a work day for us. Guys have been attentive and focused in meetings, had a great walkthrough, and then we want to see a transition over into practice.
What was it about that? What was it about that Philly team that allowed you guys to overcome
faith and belief? And our mindset, our attitude never shifted. Our goals never shifted, and so that's what is going to be the test for this team is our mindset and our attitude, each and every day. But in building that confidence in one another, and the guys who, now are going to step in and be asked to fill, huge shoes.
I know you already have that big leadership role on this team, but do you feel like, kind of because you've been through this before, like your voice is even more important?
I think, my voice can help because I've experienced it. But at the end of the day, I think we have a lot of leaders, and so it's not going to be up to one. It's going to be up to many who wear the hat to be able to, make sure everybody's focus and the mindset stays the same.
Do you think you guys as a defense maybe thrive on when you're being counted out as a team? Does that make sense?
I think as a whole, nobody expected us to be here in this position that we're in, I believe. And, I think, we have to remain hungry, remain with a chip on our shoulder each and every week. You got to prove yourself and prove that, who you are. And I think, last week was a great demonstration of the team that we can be and we want to be. So it's going to be important to continue on with that.
Do you tell each other that the goals don't change?
Oh, absolutely. That was Kevin's message early on. He just put 1-0 up. After the devastating news, it's 1-0 because it doesn't change, and that's what we're here to do.
Deshaun mentioned that some of his teammates have offered to travel to him and work out with him as he rehabs. What does that say about the closeness of this team and the bonds you guys have been able to create this season?
It says everything. I think that deep connection and togetherness started in Greenbrier, when we had the time to remove ourselves from the outside world and just come together and bond. And you've seen that really continue to grow throughout the course of the year, and it paid dividend for us last week. There was nobody on that team who had any doubt of what we were, going to do as that game went on. And guys continue to uplift one another, encourage each other because it wasn't perfect. And that's what got us through. And so we're going to need to do the same for Ford, man. He's he's been through a lot, but we know that he's given himself or given us everything, and that was demonstrated last week, and we're going to support him during this time.
Rodney, how do you guys make sure that you don't try and do too much on your side of the ball? You know what I'm saying? Like understanding that, hey, you guys have been good already, but you might have to be even better in this situation. So how do you guys not do too much?
Yeah, I think you just stick to who we are. Just be us. That's allowed us to be top defense in the league. And you just take it one game at a time. If we do our job, preventing points and creating turnovers, giving the offense more opportunities, that's going to put us in a good position to win. And at the end of the day, that's our ultimate goal.
Rodney, I don't know what Juan Thornhill's status is. Do you know what it is as far as you playing more in this game?
Yeah, I don't know at this moment. Of course, that's on the coach. For that information to be released, and we'll see how things go over the course of the week.
So it's obviously you're ready to.
Yeah,
play
always ready. That's part of my job. But at the end of the day, we hoping for the best for Juan.
You said Kevin put the 1-0 up on the board.
Yeah.
How have you seen him navigate this season where it's just like one thing after another?
Yeah, he's had great poise and calmness, and I think that sort of energy and emotion helps the team in a major way. When your leader is still calm and confident in our abilities and has trust in every individual, then that gives you great confidence as a team to go out there and perform.
Was that Super Bowl year Doug Peterson's first year?
Second
year. Okay.
Yeah, second.
So he's kind of a young leader to get you guys through that situation. So what was that like?
It was great. It was the same. We really lived on the next man up, mantra that year because of countless guys that we lost, and we're talking Hall of Famer, future Hall of Famers, all pros, and it was hard.
Yeah. Who else did you guys lose in that year?
Jason Peters, Jordan Hicks, Darren Sproles, Carson. Was having an MVP caliber year late in the year, and I think it may have been a couple other guys too, just along the way. So it was huge blows for us. But other guys stepped up and were huge contributors.
If your game plan for the season includes buying or selling a home, Howard Hanna has the answer, delivering a winning strategy for breaking down the game of real estate. As the market leaders in Northeast Ohio, more buyers and sellers trust Howard Hanna to be their winning team. Visit howardhanna.com/go Browns. Today, coming up next, Z One-on-One with Jerome Ford. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland.
Bet, a sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns, here with one of the stars of the Browns' win over the Baltimore Ravens, running back Jerome Ford, over 100 yards for the second time in your young career. This is a game where you played more snaps, or a higher percentage certainly, than you have really at any other point this season. What did you think about going into this one, knowing that you were going to play a big role and then being able to go out there and execute against what had been a very, very good defense?
Just going out there knowing that I got a job to do, didn't really know how many snaps it was. Honestly don't pay attention. But, like, as far as how we felt like going out there and preparing, same thing every week, continuing the routine, locking in, and, just understanding what the game meant for us and the fans.
It meant a lot, got you to 6-3, big win over the Ravens, came back from down 14. Kind of take me into that fourth quarter. What was kind of the mindset of you guys on the sidelines? You have a touchdown drive, then we have the punt, they score, you get another touchdown drive, and you're able to get back into this game. And then on that final drive, knowing you had to go down there, what was kind of the mentality? What was everybody saying in the huddle?
You got people in there saying make sure you hold on to the ball, make plays when the ball comes to you. And, as long as we got downs and there's time on the clock, we always feel like there's a chance to win a game. So, knowing that they were down, there were downs and that we had time, we were very confident that we could go out there and, execute what we needed.
There was a 4-play sequence on that last drive. After that sack, 2nd and 19, Deshaun hits Amari for 17 yards, 3rd and 2. You run for 6, kind of behind that double team of Ethan and Joel. Then Deshaun scrambles for 16, and then we got the play where you end up picking up 12 yards, being caught up in a storm of humanity that pushed you down the field. The 3rd down run was a big one. Obviously, that one really put the Browns into field goal range where you felt like, okay, now we're going to win this football game. What did you see when you got the ball on that one, and then what did you feel as that play unfolded?
We had a puller come around. I think it was Joel. He came through, smacked the dude. The hole was small, and I was just thinking, get skinny. Worst case scenario, we get a 0-yard gain. And, I got skinny through, and it was daylight. I cut again, and, I collided with someone, and we kind of stalemated a little bit. And then out of nowhere, I'm driving my feet, and I feel a push, and I feel another push, and another, and it's just stacking on. And at the same time, you got the Ravens defenders ripping at the ball, and it's like, I'm just in like you said, this ball of humanity. And I'm just thinking, I'm in here now. I'm in.
Go for the ride.
Yeah, I'm just going to ride it out, make sure I hold on to the ball, and, it helped put us in better field goal range because, we feel like Dustin can hit it from anywhere. So
No doubt.
Yeah.
That was a big play, and an emotional play, and I thought a statement play in many ways. We'd seen what Chief had done earlier, but just kind of to take the physicality to the Baltimore Ravens, and that's what you did there. Now, you made a very interesting point, because when I was watching this from the booth, I was thinking that as well. Once nobody can see anything that's going on in there, I can't even imagine what kind of things are going on in there to try to get that football away from you. What was going on in there?
You got Kyle Hamilton, great player. He in there ripping at it. I think you had McQueen come on and add on. They just ripping at it, and all you hear him saying is, get the ball, get the ball, get the ball. And it's like, in my head, I'm like, y'all not getting this ball. I'm holding on for dear life. It was the most important play of the game at the time because it was the next one. And, we just in there making sure that we held on to the ball and we got what we could out of it.
You saw James Hudson was fired up after that play. Were you fired up after that play? Because that is a huge one, not only for the yards, but to your point, once it was stood up, there were guys who were solely concerned with taking the football away from you. You would not be denied. You would not let them have it.
Not at all. Yeah, James was fired up. If you look at the film, you can see Coop do a little fist pump. Everybody know Coop don't celebrate a lot, so just to see that, it kind of make you laugh a little bit. You had Elijah in there pushing the adding on there pushing the pile. So yeah, it's definitely fun to look at and go back and just think like this is what the Browns are and this is what we're gonna kind of stand on for the rest of the season, the physicality. And we knew we had to be physical going into the Ravens game against a physical defense and offense like that.
You have to be physical again this week. And now you know more than anybody on this team what it means to be the next man up. Nick Chubb goes down week 2 against Pittsburgh. It's now your time. And Kareem's there and you guys have a committee. But you have had to step up and carry this football team. And you have. In the biggest game of the year, over 100 yards. You were a 5th-round pick a year ago. Didn't play much as a rookie in terms of offense. Great on kick returns. You've been able to step into this role now. You have another 5th-round pick, DTR, who has a chance to step in and step up and play a massive role. Do you talk to him? Do you say, I've done it, you can do it?
Yeah, definitely. Just let him know that we all behind him. And, no matter what goes on in the game, like you've seen us go down 14 points against Seattle and Baltimore, and you've seen us fight back. So, anytime that there's gonna be some type of problems in the game, and as long as you shake it off next play and you move on, like we'll be fine. And like I told you before, as long as there are downs and time on the clock, we always got a shot to win a game.
You certainly have had that, and it's been kind of the mentality of this team, kind of regardless of who's played quarterback, because we've seen it in Indianapolis. We've seen it, obviously, last week in Baltimore. Obviously, I'm sure your heart goes out to Deshaun like it went out to Nick Chubb because he just showed so much. Like that was kind of felt like the turning point for him. Have you got a chance to talk to him, and kind of what was the team's kind of when you guys all got together and found out the news, what was kind of the reaction?
Same reaction as Chubb. It's like, oh, man, like, dang, like, for him it's sad, and it's like, we know he want to compete and play. So we know how that feel, and it just sucks, like we kind of get rolling, and then you get that news, like it hurt a lot of us.
Yeah, it's tough, and when you know that now, with the hindsight, you know that what he did in that second half of that game, he did with a high ankle sprain and a broken throwing shoulder. Does that kind of just, even though I'm sure you guys all knew of his toughness and believed in him, was that a game, though, that kind of, when you know that now, gave you even more belief than even maybe in the moment when he was able to go 14 of 14?
Yeah, we could see the ankle, but I don't think none of us knew about the shoulder. Like, we could see him, like, kind of like, when he went down, you can see it on TV where he held his ankle. And, just to see him make those throws that he made in that second half with a broken shoulder, it's just like, man, like, how could you ever question it? How could anybody question it?
It's crazy. This team will have to go on. You get a chance now against the Pittsburgh Steelers at home. This crowd is going to be electric. 6-3. There's a possibility, depending on what happens Thursday night, this game could be for first place in the AFC North. How do you guys take the emotion of the win, the high, the probably emotion, the low of getting this news, and channeling all of that into something to be able to go out and be productive this Sunday?
As far as the win, we shut the win down Monday. That win is no longer, like, we don't even think about it no more. We on to the Pittsburgh Steelers, and that's what we focused on now. As far as Deshaun, we go out there and we're going to go play for him, just like we played for Chubb.
Jerome, thank you so much for the time. Congrats on all your success, and excited to see you keep it going.
Thank you.
Obviously, today and Monday, so much of it has been about the victory Monday, and then today, Deshaun and the injury. Not a lot of time has been spent on what Jerome Ford did in that game and what he has developed into over the course of the last couple of weeks, and he was sensational.
Yeah, Jerome Ford's been great for you. In fact, got his first 100-yard game that night.
Yeah.
Nick Chubb went down against the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's your leading rusher, 124 carries, 532 yards, 2 touchdowns, 21 catches, 141 and 2 touchdowns. He's had 2 100-yard games. He has been very good, and he kind of embodies, right, like what it is to be the one who steps up and the one who makes plays in the absence of what had been considered to be the greatest offensive player on our team. And so that is good that he's done it, and that's kind of why I asked him, like, hey, have you gotten, have you talked to DTR, also a 5th-round pick? And Jerome Ford did this without playing much as a rookie. He had 8 carries for 12 yards as a rookie. So
he's also really comfortable running out of the gun.
Very comfortable.
He did it at Cincinnati. Would have done it at Alabama when he was there. Like he's very comfortable running out of the gun and out of that type of style. You saw that in the second half. So
for sure,
I think that he and DTR, in terms of the way they've been brought up as football players, they mesh very well.
Yes, they should mesh very well. And this offense is going to have to be, very a run and then that kind of a quick look RPO style play action game. You'll take some shots down the field, but that's going to be the bread and butter of what you do. And I think you have to approach this now, and Kevin Stefanski does this so well, on a total week-to-week basis. This week you're going against not a very good offense. So it's fine. Every drive just needs to end with a kick. And if there are more punts than field goals or extra points, that's fine as long as you're not giving them the football. And I think that will be the key in this one. I mean, you go back in that Monday night game, it's crazy to say, but we probably win that game if we just kneeled every single time we had the ball
100%.
in the fourth quarter.
100%.
They
had negative yards.
Yeah,
so we would have.
Right, of course.
We would have.
Obviously, and you could even hear it in his voice. And a lot of players are bummed. They are sad.
Yeah.
They've allowed themselves to do that for a second. And then, as Rodney McLeod said, it's a work day, and now we've got to get back to work. Like, that's the thing with the NFL, and that's one of the hardest things, I think, for people who are outside to understand is how much life has to go on. Like it is a machine
there's no
that
choice.
keeps moving, and all of a sudden you're hurt and you're kind of off to the side and whatnot, or whatever's going on. And that is a very, very tough thing, I think, for players, for everybody, right? Like it's a tough thing to deal with, and just this is a tough situation, and this team needs to be ready to go. Like bottom line,
we're rough. We're halfway, little past halfway in the season. At least three franchise quarterbacks done for the year on teams who aspired to be playoff teams or Super Bowl teams.
Yeah,
I'm talking about the Jets, us, and Minnesota. Like that's happened already.
Yeah,
on this season. So this is part of that life, and that's going to be part of the adjustment going forward. Kevin will put Dorian Thompson-Robinson in the best possible position to succeed. I believe that absolutely.
Yes.
Pet Supplies Plus, giving you the chance to win tickets to home games all season long while providing the best deals for your pet at over 75 stores throughout Ohio. Enter to win at clevelandbrowns.com/Pet Supplies Plus. Receive a coupon to use at your local store with your entry. Pet Supplies Plus is a proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. So much more to come. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Join Ken and Gerard tonight's radio network. Mike Ford Jr. going to join the program tonight. Tough program today. Tomorrow we will start to focus on what this team is going forward, how to get the most out of Dorian Thompson-Robinson, what that looks like. I think we have a pretty good idea. You and I kind of had a eureka moment. We were talking to Hoff about, kind of the second half against Baltimore. It feels like that's what it will look like.
That's what our
RPO
offense has
game,
to
and
be.
that's what it has to be. It's going to be quick read, see it, get it out of your hands, and
if
go.
that go.
Yeah, and he was a very willing and good runner at UCLA. He's elusive in the pocket. He has big-time arm talent, and we saw that in the preseason. He was incredibly accurate. He's got a lot of moxie to him. Obviously, the ceiling is very different, but the one thing about DTR, it converts to other people who could be playing in that position, is there's an unknown component to him. And with the unknown comes hope.
Hope and upside, right? And that's what, getting him these reps so that if this team can do what you hope it can over the next 8 games, that by the time you get into those big-time moments, the game's slowed down for him and he's ready to give you a chance to win. Because at some point, no matter who the quarterback is, if you're coming out of the AFC or you want to do that, you are going to have to throw your way through a game.
Yep. Yeah, that's where the league is. So we will get into all of that tomorrow on the program. The next level is coming up next. Thanks for listening, everybody. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland.